It's a really exciting finish. A lot of riders will be happy. A lot of riders not so happy, who are not maybe the greatest of time trials. But I think it's always a good finish.
So Simon Spilak heading in towards the finish. Is this the winning time on the day? Spilak faster than Tony Martin, 20:36.68, 15.87 seconds faster, an average of 27.7. So a Slovenian with the best ride so far, and for everybody else in the top 10 or so, that's the immediate reference to take. Kwiatkowski 18 seconds slower than Spilak, third best time as it stands, and Simon Spilak looking to put himself perhaps on the Paris-Nice podium. So Kwiatkowski gonna have to work hard here. Richie Porte. That's where it gets really complicated as well, Sean, because you've got to start looking at all the different time gaps from Tony Galopin to those who come across the line. 6 kilometres to go for Tony Galopin. 500 metres until we get the time check then. Simon Spilak started 53 seconds down on Tony Galopin today. The first of the main men to come across the line. So here goes Richie Porte. Let's have a look. 5.5 k's to go. Richie Porte, we're going to get that time to come through to us. Well, 5.5 kilometres gone, pardon me, I should say. Just over 4 k's to go. Richie Porte with the fastest time. Richie Porte with the fastest time. 12 seconds faster than Simon Spilak. And wow, we've got to really check the time now to Tony Galopin. I mean, I think with that, he might be a little worried.
Yes, I think Richie Porte's time is a really strong one. When you consider Kwiatkowski, he's at 30 seconds. Rui Costa at 23. It looks like that the man we're expected to do, the ride, Richie Porte, in this one, he's certainly been performance, but we'll have to wait for Tony Galopin to come through this checkpoint.
Rui Costa not going to win the stage on the day, but it's going to be a really, really good ride from him. Of Tony Martin's time, top time trial from Rui Costa. 10.85 down on Simon Spilak at the finish line. And now, when you got to the 5.5 kilometre time check, there was 11 seconds between them. 11 seconds too at the arrival. Spilak, Costa, Martin, Talansky and Izagirre, the top 5. Tony Galopin has to ride for his life here because Richie Porte is flying up the road. Remember, 2 minutes between Richie Porte's start and Tony Galopin's start. So if you haven't seen him come through yet, don't worry too much, but it's about now we should be looking for him. Richie Porte, 12 seconds faster than Simon Spilak, the man who leads on the finish line at the minute. Tony Galopin has to bring his A game here. 36 seconds to play with. What's going to be the difference at the halfway stage? And of course, Sean, we're going to see this, and Directeur Sportifs himself are going to have to react if it's not looking good.
Well, yes, you have to react if it's not looking good. Depending on what the what way it's looking. If there's a big, difference between Tony Galopin and Richie Porte, well then, at this point, if Galopin has to make it up, which looks like that Galopin is maybe a bit slower than Richie Porte. Hard, to do anything about it because you're pretty much giving it 100% all the way here. If it's only a matter of 3-5 seconds, okay, but if it's any more than that, well then it's difficult to make up that ground on a guy who has really put in a fabulous time, and that is Richie Porte for the moment.
Tony Galopin, we need him up at this time check. I have a feeling he's nowhere near as quick as Richie Porte here. Let's have a look though. Appearances sometimes can be deceptive, and I think Galopin is quite a way off. Let's check. Here he comes through the time check. Galopin with 4 kilometres to go. Waiting for his time to flash up on our screen in front of us. It's a nervous wait too for those following him in the car. Oof, dearie me. Deary me, 25th at 58 seconds. Tony Galopin, I'm afraid, is not going to win Paris-Nice, Sean.
No, it's not going to happen here. You know, that disadvantage, that the loss, the advantage he had in the overall classification, the losses to Christy Porte is very, very big.
Jakob Fuglsang, 49 seconds down on the finish line, and I think, looking at Richie Porte, I think we're looking at the clear winner, aren't we?
Well, it looks like that, just Porte, unless, you know, he really starts to struggle in the end. Galopin, when you look at, you know, what he's lost, he's really struggling, and his Porte is putting in the ride to win this race.
So Richie Porte needs to keep it strong. Galopin on the left, riding in the yellow jersey. It was a superb day from him yesterday. Wonderful day for French cycling as well. Richie Porte, after the disaster of the fall on the way down, is looking to have recovered fantastically well overnight. Has his confidence as well. Certainly doing the job he was required to do today. And Sky, after looking stronger all week than the rest, a little scare yesterday. Look, though, they're finally going to get their reward. So, Geraint Thomas coming in towards the finish. Just looking at the clock ticking by at the final. It's a huge headwind now coming into the final 50 metres or so. The wind really has got up in the last 20 minutes, half an hour or so, even if it was strong before. We're seeing gusts that are almost blowing down the 25 metres to go banners at the finale. This is Geraint Thomas then. It's been a good strong Paris-Nice for him. He will once again be disappointed by what happened on the Saturday just as 12 months ago. He finishes 25.82 seconds down. And only Kwiatkowski, Porte and Galopin are left to arrive. Virtual general classification. Richie Porte would be winning Paris-Nice by 22 seconds ahead of Tony Galopin. We said that Spilak and Kostra put good rides in. Spilak at the minute riding himself onto the podium. Kwiatkowski has to improve if he has to get there. Richie Porte's race to lose as Tony Galopin desperately battles with himself, the gradient and the pressure on his shoulders. Of course, you talked about recovering from yesterday as well, Sean. This man, the man we saw a minute ago in yellow, would have put in more effort than anybody.
Well, he did put in a big effort because he went around 30 kilometres from the finish on the climb, and he was out there for a long time on his own. So he put in a huge effort to get the stage victory, to get the advantage to move into yellow jersey and overall leader of this Paris-Nice. But also we must remember the other guys. Richie Porte, you know, had the fall, and you know he had to ride back after that. So you know everybody had a big effort yesterday. Maybe Galopin had a little bit more than the rest, and it looks like that he's paying for that effort because, you know, 58 seconds at that intermediate checkpoint, it's a lot. I thought, you know, it would be a bit closer, maybe Richie Porte a little bit stronger, but it's proven that Richie Porte is, you know, much stronger than Galopin on the time trial today.
We saw it on the mountain the other day, the Croix de Chabourey, and this is Michał Kwiatkowski, a man who's been fantastic all week in this race, all the way through the prologue. He's worn more yellow jerseys than anybody else in Paris-Nice this week. He's time trialled well again today. He's going to be ever so slightly slower than Tony Martin, the world time trial champion. Fourth place, 16.7 seconds slower than Szymon Spilak at the moment. And Michał Kwiatkowski, the world road champion, now needs to wait to see exactly what happens as far as his podium place is concerned. Richie Porte, well, he hasn't won a big stage race since he won Paris-Nice in 2013. He had a 2014 to forget in so many different ways. This is going to be confirmation, Sean, of exactly what we thought could happen at the start of the year when he won the Aussie Time Trial Championship. He won so well in Willunga Hill. He was good in the Algarve as well. This is going to be the culmination of his return, isn't it, to the top?
Yes, well, this is going to be very important for Richie Porte. Last year, he had, you know, a lot of problems, sickness. To win this one, it will confirm that he's back to his best.
On the way to his fourth win of the season. He won on Willunga Hill. He won also in Malhão in the Volta ao Algarve on stage 4. He won at Croix de Chabourey just a few days ago, and he's going to win here. if you want to add the Aussie Time Trial Championship into that mix, that would be win number 5. And here he is, Richie Porte, well ahead of Simon Spilak. It is a brilliant, brilliant ride from him. Negotiates that final turn, that final corner. Thankfully, nobody's had any problems there today. Richie Porte rides across the line. He will most probably win the stage. He will win Paris-Nice. 13:35 ahead of Simon Spilak. And the Australian Time Trial champion waits, but is sure to pick up, I think, his second win of the week. In the meantime, Tony Galopin is struggling. Big day for him out there in yellow. A lot of pressure on him. A lot of people question whether he could do it or not. A few people said, yeah, no problem, he'll be fine. Others who perhaps knew how well Richie Porte was going, and how few references this guy has to measure himself in this situation. The first time he's really been in this situation, Tony Galopin, in his career. He knows the hill, but so does Richie Porte. He lives down the road as well. He's a Monégasque. We had some local Monégasque residents asking us about Richie Porte yesterday, saying, oh, he's one of us. Is he all right? How is he after the fall? He's fine. Look, top of the tree, 13 seconds ahead of Simon Spilak. 24 ahead of Rui Costa. Tony Martin in 4th place, with Kwiatkowski in 5th. Tony Galopin riding in, and I think we've got to take our hat off to him anyway, even though it's going to be Richie Porte who wins Paris-Nice.
Yes, winning the time trial up Col d'Aise, and as we mentioned later, the guy who wins the time trial goes on to win Paris-Nice. That lives on here in this Paris-Nice. Going to Galopin on our screens at the moment, he was a little bit in the unknown, I suppose, because he hasn't really had the opportunity to be in the position he was starting out this morning in yellow, going on to the Paris-Nice. We have seen Richie Porte, he's been there before, done that. Galopin, we see now the picture, he struggled on the uphill time trial, and we can see the guy, he's a big guy compared to Richie Porte, so to drag that up this climb of Col d'Aise, it's always going to be a big ask, and Richie Porte putting in a fabulous time, winning the time trial up Col d'Aise and going to win this Paris-Nice for a second time.
Well, you said that he's been there and done that, and he's going to get another T-shirt as well now as Richie Porte. He's going to exchange his green and gold for the yellow, as Tony Galopin in the yellow for the last kilometre of this race. And Paris-Nice will be done for another year. 73rd edition of the race. It's been a wonderful race from north to south. It's been a race from the sun rather than the race to the sun. We finished in miserable, horrible, windy, difficult conditions up here on Col d'Aise today. And as Sean Kelly rightly said, for the 24th occasion out of 31 passages now on Col d'Aise, the winner of the time trial will take the Paris-Nice overall. It's a wonderful, wonderful statistic that carries on as Tony Galopin struggles with the wind, struggles to try and stay on it and controlled inside the final kilometre. Big week nonetheless for him. Today's headline, Grande Victoire. Huge win in L'Equipe after a very, very difficult day. Well, Michael Matthews' green jersey is also safe, and what a day for the Australians, eh? He said that Michał Kwiatkowski could take it off him. Michael Matthews will walk away with green. Tom de Gendt with the polka dot jersey. This yellow jersey, though, is headed into the hands and finally onto the shoulders of Richie Porte. Tony Galopin has put up his very best today. He's going to get a brilliant applause at the finish. However, not good enough on the day to win the race. 29th place, a good 1 minute 39.19 down from Richie Porte. Remember last time we said he'd be a couple of minutes back. This time he's improved upon that on a very, very difficult day, but it's not good enough to beat Richie Porte, who goes on to take Paris-Nice. Credit to Tony Galopin, big fighter. This is how the stage finishes here on Col d'Aise. Stage 7 of Paris-Nice, and the one to finish off the race, with Richie Porte winning by 13 seconds from Simon Spilak, Rui Costa in third, 24 back, Martin, Kwiatkowski, Talansky, Thomas, Izagirre, Wellens and Gorka in 10th.